right, we're rounding up our week adventure in Sonoma County. All kinds of fun things have happened this week, but I saved the best for last. I've got Jeremy Morris from Vizrt in to tell everybody how to pronounce Vizrt. Did I do it right? Did I do it wrong?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so here's the bonus question. What does Vizrt stand for?
Real-time visualization.
Yes, but flip it. Yeah, so it's
Visualization.
visualization in real time. So yeah, so that's the Vizrt.
Yeah, but that's like an awkward statement. Visualization real-time. Like, you never...
I didn't make it up. I'm just telling you what it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so NewTek is now part of the Vizrt brand. It's one portfolio, one company, one big happy family.
No arguments there. So, okay, lots of good stuff happening though. So, I mean, there was a lot of concern obviously in those early days of like, oh, what's going to happen to the TriCaster, right? But it's gone through actually some like upgrades since it's come over to Vizrt. So talk about where you're kind of at right now, where the product is lining up, and then we can talk about a little bit about how people are using them.
Yeah, so we do have quite an expansion in the TriCaster family. The TriCaster name is still around. It's still the main brand that everyone knows and loves. It's just now, how are we utilizing it in what form and fashion? So we're growing not just a market segment, but also capabilities. You know, we have our cloud offerings now. We do have some smaller entry-level TriCasters that are available. So we can kind of help the market in whatever form and flavor they want.
So it's really just the profile, or I would say just the application have expanded, right? Smaller,
Yes.
more cost-effective versions, much higher-end versions now with like the Vector and some others that are able to handle more inputs, more outputs.
Correct, and also the connectivity back to what we consider the traditional orange products on the Vizrt side of the world. Now we have a much larger footprint and expanded workflow that we can take advantage of all these extra parts and pieces into an even larger infrastructure.
So the one I kind of want to tackle a little bit today and talk about is the cloud products. Because I think, a lot of the world is saying cloud, 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 cloud. Everybody wants to move to the cloud. Not everybody needs to be in the cloud, but there is some value to having the ability to run a TriCaster in the cloud.
Yeah, so we have a couple different offerings. You mentioned Vector before. That is more of an on-prem cloud offering. I know that is kind of convoluted,
Totally.
but it's running on a client's existing infrastructure in the cloud. So that's where the Vector licensing comes into play for the higher-end broadcasters, other types of corporate event, where they need 44 inputs, but they have a robust cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, so somebody who's heavily invested in AWS or any kind of major cloud offering, you've got other servers already spun up, you could spin up a Vector, effectively.
Correct. And then that leads to the TriCaster Now option, which is a cloud service, but it's running on our infrastructure. So basically you're paying for that instance through us at the credit package that makes the most sense and your own value. So you go from the Vector, which would be 44, but you have smaller offerings with the TC Now. It's a lot easier to deploy and it's a lot scalable for your type of production. Because it's basically it's like an ad hoc TriCaster at that point.
But it's kind of the model of like renting a TriCaster effectively, because I can go turn it on, utilize it, run a show, and then it turns off, and that's the end of the story.
Correct. And we do have something, the Discovery package, which I call the TRY TriCaster, kind of like the try and buy, where you get the flavor of what a cloud production would look like at a much lower cost for initial setup. Then now you get your feet wet, you understand how cloud works, doesn't make sense in your environment, or does an actual physical TriCaster make sense? So you have those options now, you have the capability to see what makes the most sense for your production.
So what do you get in sort of, lighting up TriCaster in the cloud? What comes with it? How does it operate? Like, how does somebody even get their cameras into it effectively?
So that would rely on NDI Bridge. So that is your main demarcation and getting in and out of the cloud is through Bridge, because you're still going to have on-prem something. What does that look like? Is it NDI based? Do you need to convert that from HDMI, HDSDI, whatever, to get that into NDI Bridge locally and then send those signals up to cloud and either bring them back down? Because again, NDI being bidirectional, we can take advantage of that. So now you have your program output, you have monitoring, all that's capable. Just like a regular TriCaster, you just don't have a physical appliance. It's cloud-based.
And what about the customers that want to do, Microsoft Teams and sort of the Zoom opportunities? How are they going to engage in cloud, or will they be able to?
Yeah, there's still those capabilities. I mean, you still have the NDI direct output from Teams. That can be a signal part of the NDI bridge, send that stuff back up. So there's still various ways we can interact. I mean, we play well with others.
Yeah.
That's been my mantra for a long time when we talk about workflows and developments. Nobody makes everything. You have to work with somebody else's something at some point. We can take advantage of that. We can go through those workflows.
So Jeremy, who do you see as the customer for this? I mean, is this the mobile production lab that just is going to spin up an event in a place, or is there somebody more permanent that would be using this?
A wide variety. I mean, corporate obviously is big on this because either the on-prem or the mobile aspect of a corporate production. There's also the disaster recovery where you may have on-prem stuff, but you spin up the cloud instance just to take over if something were to happen. You have capabilities across multiple sites.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Redundancy type of story
Yes.
now where, got
And
it.
that leads into our control panels, the
Well,
flex
it's,
side.
It's
Yeah.
a lot less expensive to have than having two TriCasters. Not that I'm telling anybody they shouldn't buy a second one, but you could have an on-prem and a cloud kind of running simultaneously.
Right, and with our control panels, with the Flex line, the Flex and the Flex Dual, you can take advantage of that, have redundant operators as well from multiple panels across the network. NDI Bridge is global, you can take advantage of that. Cloud, all that's now capable. You can be anywhere you want to from the TriCaster production side of it, and then also from the control side of it.
So we were talking earlier kind of how to get started on this roadmap, right? Because you said it real clearly, like it's not for everybody, right? And so you got the Tri program, right, to get started. What about the dealers that want to start learning more, start grabbing onto it, start figuring out if they should be taking this to their client or just stick to the traditional?
Well, first and foremost, there is the classes, or the are the classes that are available on Viz University. So you go through that, learn what the cloud offerings are, what they're capable of being, how they're going to apply to your various vertical markets that you're dealing with, and then you have access to that from the dealer's perspective of the dealer can do the TRY TriCaster version. Does it make sense to them to pitch to their existing clients or new clients that they're going after, the new logos they're trying to bring on? So then that helps get their feet wet without the huge expenditure into the cloud infrastructure, because Vector is more expensive. It's expensive for a reason.
Yep.
The TC now is much more affordable and a lower cost of entry.
But it gives you a lot of capabilities. Now, that you mentioned earlier there'll be different versions of Now. What does that look like?
So right now we have the 8 input. So basically it's what a mini or a 410 plus would look like from number of sources, capabilities, and things like that. And then there's talks of expanding that out possibly to like a 16, the version of a TC1. And then again, this is still early in the process. So we need the feedback from the dealers, from the end users. What would they like to see moving forward? And that's the other benefit about being a software-driven company is we can take advantage of that and we can scale our products a lot more quickly and effectively that way.
For a customer that's already got a TriCaster now that's sitting on-prem, how do they, or do they have the ability to take their existing shows and move them with graphics and other product up into the cloud?
Kind of, sort of. It depends on what system they're currently operating on. But certain things you can export out. You can export your macros. Some of those may not make sense because now you're dealing in a cloud environment versus on-prem.
You gotta
so you may
rework
have
some
to,
things, yeah.
right? You may have to adjust and things like that. But again, it's the same interface that you know and love and have seen before. So that doesn't change. That's booting up just like it's a web browser and you see the interface of a TriCaster. That doesn't change, and it operates just like you would be if you're using NDI KVM, for instance. So the look and feel is going to be the same. It's just how you migrate content up and down from the cloud, because there's also that cost consideration.
You mentioned panels, and I mean, obviously the Flex panel's been out for, I think, a little over a year now or more, which is the first of the true IP-based panels.
Correct.
Right? Audio inputs, outputs, all kinds of fun stuff. Talk to me about what's coming in the panel world.
So the Flex Dual is out now. I have one. It's in my shed. I love it to death.
So I can't borrow it.
We'll talk.
All right, fair enough.
You're not that far of a drive from me. We'll see.
Bonus.
But what we're able to do now from a control aspect, it's an NDI-based control panel. So what does that mean? Well, there's a control layer inside NDI we can take advantage of with these panels. It means I can talk to any TriCaster on the network through that. Now, with the standard Flex, yes, all TriCasters apply. For the Flex Dual, you're talking TC1, TC1 Pro, TriCaster 2 Elite. It's a bigger panel, more cross points, more buttons, but a whole lot of features. So if you also think from a size perspective, it's not as wide as what a 2-stripe was. It's a little deeper, but it's a smaller overall footprint than what the 4-stripe was, for instance. But far more capabilities than what all of our panels have had in the past. We've had a complete redesign, not just from a panel physical layout, but operations. It's taken a lot of feedback from TDs that are out there in the market now, how they're running productions, what would they like to see in a control panel. That's now influenced how this is laid out, where the buttons are at, the functionalities. It's wicked slick.
It seemed like there was a lot of features that were more industry standard in this one to make it easier for operators who might be on another platform to come over to this and feel more at home. Right? Not have to completely relearn their sort of their motions, but some button
and we've taken input from folks that have been on other panels. They're like, what would they like to see in different ways? So we've taken that input as well. So there's things that are being done on this panel that no one's ever done before. Yeah. And it's really exciting what we're able to take.
But some of that takes out the fear of moving to a new system,
right?
Because it's more comfortable, it's more akin to what they've been using, so it makes it a much easier transition. To get into the Vizrt platform than I think ever before.
Right, the numeric keypad, the capabilities of that and where it's located, our one-touch macro rows, there's sky's the limit to it.
Clean. Now, cameras, talk cameras. So you guys have been in the camera game now for a couple of years, because who better to get an NDI camera from than...
the people that invented NDI, I know. So we do have a new camera line coming. It's not a full redesign of our existing PTZ3. It's more of just a rebranding of that into the Vizrt look. So we will have on the PTZ3 UHD capability of being white and black. We've got a reduced orange ring, so it's not as obtrusive as the blue that was on the front of the lens. But most of the product internally kind of stays the same. It's just we have a new look to it. There are some new features that are coming with the capability of having tracking inside of our NDI camera.
That's the most important one. I mean, I don't know, you can't put out a camera now and not have auto tracking capabilities. And I think that's just become almost a standard now for the PTZ industry to engage, to offer a solution. And not everybody needs it, but I think it's just that opportunity. There are times when you can turn it on and let the system roll.
And it really now dovetails back into like our capture cast lineup and what we're able to do in that space and have more automation to traditional lecture capture and whatnot. Now that's programmable inside that platform. We have a camera that goes well with it and some other things that are coming down the pike.
Love it, love it. So we've got NAB coming up, we've got InfoComm coming up. So we got lots of opportunities for people to engage with Vizrt out there. Any other place we're going to see you guys this year that we should let the audience know about?
Those are the two biggies, but there'll be a lot of regional road shows that we'll be involved in. I'll be out on the road quite a bit. Seeing dealers, partners, end users. A lot of other folks will be as well in all regions all over the country.
So you'll be back to weekend visitations with the kids.
In fact, some of them I'm able to travel with them, so they'll be with me. That's the benefit of homeschooling as well, is I can put them to work and they can build out the booth and they understand that. So
part
it's been
of
fun.
their education is getting a job.
Yeah. Put them to work.
Awesome. Listen, man, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure to hang out in the chat. If you need to know more about Vizrt, obviously hit up Jeremy online. He's pretty active on the socials. I think he's there more than I am. Or just call your JB&A reps, get a little bit more info on the new cloud products, how to engage, how to get into it, and how to get your first system set up so you can play with it. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be in person.
Always, always. We'll see you all in the next episode.